Dale wasn't the kind of man who let emotions run his life. He made decisions like clockwork, calculated, neat, and sealed with a logic no one could touch. But logic didn't matter the day he crashed into a concrete divider, bleeding and unconscious, while cars swerved around the wreckage, like his life didn't mean a damn thing. I was 2 blocks away when I heard the explosion. I ran like hell, barefoot in the rain, hair soaked, phone dead. When I saw that twisted mess of metal and fire, I didn't even think. I just pulled him out, smoke burned my throat, glass sliced through my hands. But Dale, he was still breathing. I kept pressure on his side where the metal had bit into him, whispering his name like it would keep him tethered to the earth. He opened his eyes once, just for a second. He saw me, lips cracked open to say something, but it never came. The hospital kept him for 10 days. I was there for 11. Slept in that stupid chair that tore my back up. Brought him soup. Fought the nurses for extra blankets. I answered calls from his job, from Terrell who came once and never again, and from Martha, who sounded like she was crying but never bothered to visit. I was the one who told the doctor Dale was allergic to morphine. I was the one who signed the papers when they didn't think he'd make it through the second night. And when he finally woke up and could talk, the first thing he said was, "Leah, I think we need to talk." He didn't cry. He didn't thank me. He broke the engagement. He said it like he was canceling a subscription. No drama, no yelling, just, "I've been thinking, and I'm not sure marriage is right for me." I laughed, out loud, the kind of laugh that comes from a place so deep it feels like screaming. I looked at his stitched-up ribs, at the IV dripping clear fluid into his arm, and I smiled so hard my face hurt. "Okay," I said. "Cool. So here's the thing. From now on, I'm charging you by the hour." His brows pulled together, like he didn't get it. He didn't. "Not yet. You want your charger? That's $5. You want me to tell the nurse you need water? $20. You want me to keep quiet when your mom calls, asking why I haven't posted any engagement photos lately? That's gonna run you extra. Leah, don't Leah me. You think I saved your life for free? Baby, love made me dumb, but I'm awake now. And every damn second I spent in this hospital, wiping your drool and changing your bandages. It's got a price." He tried to sit up, winced, then gave up. The IV beeped like it agreed with me. "You're serious," he whispered. "Dead serious." He didn't say anything after that, just stared at me like he was meeting me for the first time. Maybe he was. Because the girl who said yes to his ring 6 months ago, she died somewhere between the sirens and the ICU. The one standing there now, charging him $10 just to adjust his blanket. Didn't care if he liked her anymore. Martha texted me the next day. He told me what happened. "I'm so sorry. He's scared. That's all." I replied with a screenshot of my Venmo request to Dale. $375. Hospital girlfriend duties. She didn't text again. Funny thing is, once I stopped loving him for free, he started paying attention, watching me, following me with those dark, tired eyes, like he couldn't believe what he lost. And that was fine. Let him feel it. Let him count every second like I did. Because heartbreak wasn't cheap. And Dale? He had a bill coming due. Dale got out of the hospital a week later. I didn't offer to drive him home. Terrell showed up for that, arms crossed and annoyed like someone had dragged him away from something important. Dale was slower now, like his body wasn't fully connected to his mind, like each step made him remember how close he came to death. Good. Let him feel every damn ache. I watched them from across the parking lot. Didn't wave, didn't smile. Just leaned on my car and sipped my iced coffee. Terrell glanced my way, gave a slight nod. Dale didn't even look. That was fine. He still owed me for 5 hospital runs, 3 back rubs, and 1 silent breakdown in the hallway that he never acknowledged. The invoice was at $725 and counting. A week later, I got a knock at my door. I knew it was him before I even opened it. Dale had a way of standing like the world belonged to him, even when it clearly didn't. He was holding a little bouquet of cheap-ass gas station flowers and a small paper bag that smelled like Thai food. He looked like he hadn't slept. "You're late," I said. "You've got 24 hours to accept a Venmo request before interest adds up." "I'm not here to argue," he muttered. "Then pay me." I crossed my arms. He didn't move. I wanted to say I'm sorry. I raised an eyebrow. "Which part? Sorry you almost died. Sorry I saved your life. Or sorry you broke the engagement while still hooked up to a catheter?" He winced. "All of it." "Cool." I opened the door wider. "Leave the food and let's talk business." He walked in, shoulders hunched like the apology was physically weighing him down. I didn't offer a seat. He sat anyway. Laid the flowers on my table like that meant something. "You've been sending me invoices," he said slowly. "Correct. With actual breakdowns. Like emotional labor, $50. I nodded. "That one's generous. The real value's in the hundreds. But I'm being kind." He looked up at me, and for the first time in weeks, there was no distance in his eyes. Just confusion and something else. Regret, maybe. Or recognition. Like he finally realized I wasn't joking. "You're serious about this." I sat across from him. "Dead serious. You broke something. Not just us, Dale. You broke the trust, the time, the way I used to love you without checking the receipt. Now, everything has a cost, and you're paying." He was quiet for a long time. Then, I didn't know how to handle it. Almost dying. It shook something loose. Then you shake it alone. I already did my part. The silence stretched between us. The kind that used to feel warm and easy. Now it just felt like a wall. "What do you want, Leah?" he finally asked. I leaned in, voice steady. "I want you to feel the weight of what you did. I want you to understand that love isn't a reset button you can just smash when things get too real. You want it out? Fine, you're out. But that doesn't mean I walk away with nothing. After investing in your damn survival," he looked down at his hands. Bruised knuckles, shaky fingers. "I never meant to hurt you. You didn't mean to love me either. But you did. Until it got hard." He closed his eyes. "I'll pay you. Every penny. You bet your ass you will." He nodded slowly. "And if I pay it all back, everything you're billing me for, does that mean I get another chance?" I laughed. It wasn't cruel, just tired. "You think this is about money?" He looked up, and I swear, for the first time, Dale looked small. Like the man who used to think he had it all figured out, had just now realized he didn't understand the first thing about women like me. "No," I said. "You don't pay your way back into love, but you do pay for your exit." And I meant it. Dale didn't fight it. He stood up, nodded once, and walked out like a man heading toward a sentence he couldn't escape. And for a few days, I didn't hear from him. No texts, no payments, no updates. I figured he'd do what most men did. Let his guilt fade and convince himself that leaving was the best thing for both of us. But then the payments started rolling in. First, a $40 transfer with a note, phone charger, water, emotional damage, starter fee. Then another, $125. For every time you lied to my mom so she wouldn't worry. I'd laugh if it didn't make me pause. Every transfer came with a little message, like he was trying to undo silence with small sentences. He didn't call, didn't ask to come over, just paid. Like he finally understood that love wasn't about flowers or fancy dinners. It was about the unpaid labor, the quiet sacrifices, the invisible bruises. Then came the $600 one. Pain and suffering, for every second you spent by my side when I didn't deserve it. I stared at that one for a long time. Martha texted me again. She didn't ask how I was, just sent, "He misses you. He's just too broken to say it." I almost replied, "Tell him I'm not a rehab center." But I didn't. What would be the point? I didn't need Dale's love anymore. But I needed something from him. Not affection, not a second chance. Just accountability. Just the goddamn truth. That night, I showed up at Terrell's place. I knew Dale was staying there. He opened the door, shirtless and stunned. "I'm not here to fight," I said. "I'm here for a refund." He blinked. "A refund?" I held up my phone. $75 too much on one of your Venmo notes. "You overpaid." He stared at me like he couldn't decide if I was being serious or sarcastic. "I'm not going to take more than you owe, Dale. That's the difference between me and you." He stepped back, silent, and I walked in. The apartment smelled like gym socks and Chinese takeout. Dale sat down on the couch, and I stayed standing. It wasn't a power move. I just didn't want to be comfortable in his space anymore. "Why do you do it?" I asked. "Why break it off when I was still bandaging your ribs?" He looked away, jaw tight, "Because I knew the second I opened my eyes that you deserved better than the man I became." "That's not your call to make." I was afraid, Leah. That crash, it made everything real. The future, marriage, you, holding my life in your hands. It felt too big. So instead of leaning on me, you pushed me away. He rubbed his face. "Yeah, and now I can't stop thinking about how stupid that was." I walked over to the window, arms crossed. "You know what hurt the most?" He looked up. "That you didn't say thank you." "Not once." He blinked, like he'd been hit. God, you're right. I didn't. And I've been thinking about it every day, wondering what kind of man forgets gratitude before love. I turned back to him. That's the man I stopped loving. He stood. "Then what now?" I sighed. "Now you finish paying your debt. And after that, we see." He nodded, slow, like every movement was heavy. "I'll pay it all, Leah, even if it takes forever." I believed him. But the difference now was, I didn't need to. 2 weeks passed. Payments kept coming in like clockwork. No delays, no excuses. Dale was methodical, almost obsessive. He calculated every detail of our past, like he was balancing an emotional ledger. I started receiving transfers for things I didn't even remember. $15 for calming me down before my first interview. $60 for listening to my father rant about politics and not walking out. $200 for staying on the phone the night my cousin died. The list kept growing, and with every payment, I realized something strange. This wasn't about money anymore. Not for him. This was him trying to bleed out guilt with interest. Terrell called me one evening. First time ever. "I don't mean to pry," he said, voice low, almost apologetic, but he's not sleeping. He's working some crap IT job during the day and pulling extra hours at night to make these payments. I caught him calculating your damn invoices at 3 a.m. like it's a final exam. I stayed quiet. "You think this is helping him?" He continued. "Or are you just watching him drown slowly?" I bit my lip, tried to hold back the sting in my chest. He didn't care when I was drowning. "That's fair," Terrell said. "But at some point, punishment starts looking a lot like revenge." I hung up without replying. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about Dale at 3 a.m., surrounded by receipts and notes from our past, trying to assign value to moments that used to be free. It should have made me feel powerful, vindicated. Instead, it made me feel hollow. The next morning, I sent him a text. Meet me at the cafe on 4th, noon. He didn't reply, but he showed up. He looked different. Not just physically, though he had lost weight and his beard had grown out slightly, but emotionally. He looked stripped down. Like the version of Dale I used to love had finally been peeled back from all the pride and plans and polished charm. This was the man underneath. Bare, messy, honest. I didn't wait for small talk. I slid a manila envelope across the table. That's everything you paid me. I withdrew it. Every cent. His brows pulled together, confused. Why? Because I wanted to see how far you'd go. And now I have. He opened the envelope and stared at the cash, then looked up at me. I don't want it back, he said. I know. Then why? Give it to me? Because this was never about the money, Dale. It was about making you feel something real, about making you understand that love isn't a given. It's work, sacrifice. And when you walked away without saying thank you, without so much as a reason, you didn't just break us. You broke me. He looked like he wanted to cry, but didn't know how. I never stopped loving you, Leah. I just didn't know how to love you right. I stirred my coffee, took a slow breath. Then maybe you weren't supposed to. Silence sat between us. But this time it wasn't cold. It was full. Full of everything we hadn't said. Full of truth. I've changed, he whispered. I'm still changing. I know, I said. But I'm not waiting anymore. He nodded, eyes on the envelope. What do I do with this? Whatever you want. Donate it, burn it. Use it to build something better. Just don't use it to buy me back. I wasn't trying to buy you back, he said quietly. I was trying to become someone who deserved you. I stood up. Then maybe you're finally on the right path. And I left. No hug, no promise. Just space. For him. For me. For whatever would come next. Days turned into weeks, and I didn't hear from Dale. No texts, no payments, no breadcrumbs of regret left in my inbox. It felt strange at first, like the silence should have been louder somehow, but the longer it stretched, the more I started to breathe again. Real, deep breaths, the kind that don't carry a name in their exhale. I took a weekend trip by myself. No plans, no notifications, just me and a small cabin near the lake with weak cell signal and strong coffee. For once, my thoughts didn't orbit around him. I wasn't wondering what Dale was doing, or if he was staring at the envelope I'd handed back. I didn't care. Or at least that's what I told myself. When I got back, there was a box on my doorstep. No return label, no note, just a small plain box with my name written across it in Dale's handwriting. Inside was a flash drive, a photo of us on the pier from 2 summers ago. Me laughing, him looking at me like I was all the light in the world, and a handwritten invoice. Final payment. It wasn't about money this time. It was a list. For every night you stayed when you could have walked away. For the 1,000 times you calmed the storm in me. For loving me when I didn't earn it. For pulling me from fire, literally and figuratively. For teaching me the cost of silence. For making me feel the weight of a thank you I never gave. And at the bottom, this debt is eternal. You don't owe me anything, but I owe you a better version of me. And I'll keep paying, just not with money. I stared at it for a long time, thumb running over the paper. Then I plugged in the flash drive. It was a video. Him, sitting in a folding chair in Terrell's apartment, looking like he hadn't rehearsed a single word. Hey, he said, soft. I'm not asking you to come back. I think I finally understand that some things break and don't need fixing. But I needed you to see me, not the guy who panicked and left. Not the guy who buried himself in spreadsheets and numbers because emotions made him feel stupid. Just me. He took a shaky breath. I was wrong. About love. About you. About everything. And maybe this doesn't change anything, but it's the most honest thing I've done since I looked you in the eyes and lied about why I was leaving. He paused, then added, "You saved my life. And now I'm trying to do the same. One day at a time." The screen went black. I didn't cry. I thought I might, but I didn't, because what he gave me this time wasn't a plea. It was peace. 3 days later, I ran into Terrell at the grocery store. He looked surprised, but not uncomfortable. "You seen him lately?" I asked. "Yeah. He's working a normal schedule. Started therapy. Joined one of those gym classes where people throw medicine balls and scream like they're exorcising demons." I smirked. "Sounds about right." "He doesn't talk about you much anymore," Terrell said, tilting his head. "But he's different, quieter, more grounded. I think letting go of you is what made him figure himself out." That stuck with me. Some people change to win you back. Others change because losing you made them look in the mirror and finally see who they become. I didn't reach out. I didn't need to. Healing wasn't always about reunions. Sometimes it was just about letting the story end on a note you could live with. Spring rolled in with quiet mornings and soft breezes, the kind that slipped through my windows and carried no weight. I started walking more, reading again, doing those small things that used to be part of me before love, before Dale, turned my life into a series of emotional investments with no safety net. People around me noticed the change. My coworker, Martha, her, she cornered me in the break room one afternoon, awkward and stiff, like her words might catch fire on the way out. "I saw Dale," she said, stirring her coffee. "He looked healthier, lighter." I nodded. "Good." She hesitated. "He mentioned you. Said he finally stopped trying to earn something that was never his to keep." That made me pause. "I think he meant it kindly," she added quickly, like trying to pad the fall. Like he finally understood that just because you love someone doesn't mean you're entitled to their forgiveness. I looked at her, really looked at her, and for the first time in a long time, I didn't feel the sting in my chest when someone said his name. "Tell him," I said. "I'm glad he learned that." She blinked. "You sure?" "Yeah," I said. "I'm sure." That night, I sat on my balcony with a glass of wine and reread the list from his final invoice. There was something about seeing those words in his handwriting. It wasn't romantic. It wasn't even sentimental. It was real, honest. That list was the most vulnerable thing Dal had ever given me, and he didn't even expect me to respond. That's how I knew he'd finally changed. People don't always come back better. Most don't come back at all. But even if they do, it doesn't mean you have to open the door. I didn't want him back, not because I was angry, but because I had finally remembered who I was without him. And I liked her. She wasn't always polished, or forgiving, or sweet, but she was whole. A few weeks later, I was walking through a bookstore, downtown, flipping through poetry books I didn't intend to buy, when I saw him. He was standing by the non-fiction section, wearing a navy jacket and holding a book about grief. We locked eyes for a second, not long enough to stop time. Not dramatic, just human. He smiled. Small, genuine. I smiled back. That was it. No sudden speeches. No running into each other's arms. No apologies begging for acceptance. Just two people who'd shared a chapter, standing in the middle of their separate stories. As I left the store, I didn't look back. I didn't need to. Some endings don't come with heartbreak. They come with clarity, and for the first time in a long while, I wasn't counting what I'd lost. I was living what I'd reclaimed. Summer came quietly that year, without fireworks or sudden storms. Just long evenings, and the sound of life moving on. My apartment stayed clean without effort. My phone didn't buzz with anxiety anymore. And I found myself smiling at the way light hit the walls just right around 6:45 p.m. It wasn't happiness in the storybook sense. It was steadiness, peace, like I'd finally cleaned out all the noise Dale left behind and could hear my own voice again. But healing is weird. It doesn't move in a straight line. It curls back sometimes, slips into your bed at night, reminding you of what used to be, even when you don't miss it. One evening I passed the hospital where Dale had been admitted. I hadn't meant to go that way. It was just a shortcut. But when I saw it, I stopped. I remembered the smell of those halls, the sound of machines, the constant fear pressing on my chest like a boulder, and I remembered how alone I felt, loving someone who didn't even have the decency to thank me. I sat in my car, staring at the building for a while. No tears, just breath. Deep, quiet breath. Then I did something unexpected. I walked in, not to see anyone, just to visit the lobby, sit on one of those awful plastic chairs, and let myself be in the same space, without falling apart. A kind of test, I guess. Proof that I could go back without going back. I stayed for 10 minutes. When I stood up to leave, I noticed someone behind the information desk staring at me. "You okay, ma'am?" she asked gently. I nodded. "I am now," she smiled. "Good. You have that look." What look? The one people get when they finally put something down after carrying it too long. I smiled back and walked out. Back in my apartment, pulled out the notebook I'd been writing in since the breakup. Most of it was angry. Some of it was sad. But on the last page, I wrote something different. I loved a man who didn't know what to do with that love, and I still survived. There was something freeing in writing it, like naming the truth made it less powerful. And once I wrote it down, I closed the notebook and didn't open it again. A week later, Terrell texted me out of nowhere. He's moving. Some job upstate. Said he's ready for a new start. Just thought you'd want to know. I stared at the message for a long time. I didn't reply, but I whispered, "Good," under my breath. Because sometimes closure doesn't come from a final talk. Sometimes it comes from knowing you don't need one. A few days later, I found the envelope he returned, the one with all the cash he tried to give me. I'd stuck it in a drawer and forgotten it. I took it out, counted the bills, and then I donated it. Every cent. Women's shelter downtown. No name attached. No glory. Just quiet redemption. And as I dropped the envelope off, I realized something I hadn't before. I hadn't saved Dale to keep him. I saved him because I loved him. But walking away, that's how I saved myself. Time has a way of softening even the sharpest edges. Weeks became months. And that part of my life with Dale settled into memory. Not a wound, not a regret. Just a closed chapter in a book I no longer needed to reread. I moved apartments, smaller, space, brighter walls. I painted the kitchen a shade of blue I'd once seen in a dream, and every time I walked in, it made me feel light. I took a new job too. Less money, more peace. Turns out, chasing quiet is better than chasing titles. One night I ran into Martha again. At a gallery opening, of all places. She was with someone. New boyfriend maybe. She looked good. She smiled. Like we weren't two women who had once silently judged each other's worth through Dale's choices. "He told me you donated the money," she said, after a bit of polite small talk. I raised a brow. "He still talk about me?" "Not much. Just that you taught him more in the end than he ever expected to learn. I shrugged. Well, the lesson was expensive. She laughed, soft and honest. Yeah, but he paid it. I nodded and turned to leave. I didn't need to stay in that room. I didn't need to prove anything to her, or to him. I had nothing left to explain. That night, I wrote a letter I never planned to send. Just one page. Simple. Dale, you were a storm I tried to hold in my hands. And when I couldn't, I thought it was because I wasn't enough. But now I know. You can't build forever on top of silence. And you can't heal someone who doesn't see the wound. You didn't break me. You woke me up. And for that, I thank you. Take care of yourself. Leah, I folded it, tucked it into a book, and slid it onto my shelf. Not because I wanted to revisit the past, but because I wanted to honor it. That version of me, the one who loved him so fiercely she forgot herself, deserved a place to rest. One evening, in the middle of cooking dinner, my phone buzzed. A message, not from Dale, from a number I didn't know. Hi, this is Terrell. Hope this isn't weird. Just wanted to say, watching you walk through all that, it made me realize the kind of woman I want to be worthy of too. So, thanks. For real. I smiled. Funny how pain echoes differently in different hearts. Dale took my heartbreak and turned it into reflection. Terrell? Maybe something more. But I didn't need to know. The beauty of moving on is that you stop needing to trace every ripple you leave behind. I poured a glass of wine, sat on my balcony, and looked out over a city that no longer held any ghosts. For the first time in a long, long time, I didn't feel like someone who'd been left. I felt like someone who'd chosen herself. And that was the real love. Story all along. The end. Let me know if you want another story, or a spin-off for any character. Dale, Terrell, even Martha.